Ready for brand stories? Get inspired and learn from thought leaders, CEOs, business owners, managers, entrepreneurs, and experts who tell their brand stories and share their first-hand insights. Welcome to BrandsTalk. I'm your host, Brigitte Bakowski. I support entrepreneurs and organizations like you to become future market leaders by transforming their ambitions and passion into an online brand that radiates beauty, brilliance, and authenticity, attracting the clients and recognition they deserve. Let's get started and dive with me into the world of brands. My guest today is Mahnaz Sharif. Mahnaz empowers moms whose business dreams are buried under family needs. Most moms know the feeling of being sandwiched between what their family needs from them and the business that they want to create. Through overcoming her own challenges, Mahnaz developed the H.A.R.M.O.N.Y Blueprint, crafted especially for moms to avoid the struggle with juggling. It's not just about business, but also about joy and real focus in both personal and professional life. With a degree in mathematics and 20 years of experience as an analyst, Mahnaz is a mom of two teens, a strategic business architect, and the founder of the Build with Boundaries podcast. Her clients learn to work in harmony, respect their time and energy so they can carve out time for them, their life, and their family and their business. I warmly welcome Mahnaz Sharif. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Thank you so much, Bridget. It's a complete pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Sure. So I'm also happy to have you today. It's a special session because it's all about mompreneurs and moms and how to kind of juggle the struggle, right? So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how you got there where you are at now. Meaning, you were employed, you worked for a company, you were in corporate, and what made you realize you want to become your own boss and start your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to share that. So, yes, I was in the corporate world for about 20 years. And I think, as a lot of entrepreneurs might resonate, it kind of happened by accident because I left my corporate career and there was a chance for me to, not be working all the time and be around for my kids more. And as a family, that was a decision we made. So there wasn't an idea of I will be going and setting my business up, but because I had always worked, there was something that started to stir in me that there was something I wanted to do, and I wanted to be more than a mum. For the first time in my life, I could like really paint that picture of what I wanted to do. And I gave myself that permission, I guess. So my first step was to set up my first business, which ended up being, it was a product business. And, if I'm really completely honest, it was more of a hobby business than a proper business. But it was so essential in where I am today, because if I hadn't taken that step, I wouldn't have learned all the learnings. And I fell into the trap of overworking, like many people do, trying to figure out what was missing and learning and overworking to the point that I was working way more than I had worked in my corporate career, even, even when I didn't have the kids, to be honest, and I was full time. And it was when lockdown hit that I had this reflection and realized that what I was doing in terms of overworking wasn't going to help me get through lockdown or to be able to support my family in the way I wanted to in lockdown. Obviously, physically, everybody was, more indoors and together, and maybe perhaps in some way isolated from other things, which is fine, but we all had to manage our own way and find our own way. And being in like the same space, for me, it was like a house full of boys and two kids schooling online and husband at home who'd taken over the office. So I basically sat at the dining table. That's where I shifted to, and I had this realization that this wasn't working and I had to do something to change it. And, there was that desire that I wanted to change and shift my business. And I knew that I wanted to be there for my family. So that kind of guilt that we always feel as mums was definitely there because I couldn't sacrifice one for the other. And it felt like, I did have some business dreams that I had to uncover. And I also had to be there as a mom and feel that I had done enough or I was doing and being there for them. So that was the sort of challenge I was faced with. And it was through that realization and reflection that I realized, this was my time to really decide what I wanted to do and how I wanted to help others. And at that time, I only knew I wanted to help other women in business, but I didn't have a full idea. So that's kind of when the deep work started to really figure out what I was good at, what skills I had, and how I could really make that happen and bring it to life. What that was from the idea stage, as if it were. So yeah, that's my kind of squiggly line of journey to get to that point. And then now I have Built with Boundaries is my business, and yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm serving mums who are feeling that guilt and feeling torn between wanting to do something more, create a bigger impact, have a positive influence on people around them, including their children, their family, and obviously their clients too, and not having to sacrifice or compromise in any way, not having to choose between them. There is a way. And I think that's what I discovered through my own journey and through the struggles I had to work out, what I had to do to overcome them.
Yeah, that is definitely a journey, right? So a lot of learning, and you're following your inner why, the purpose, why you're here for in this life. And it's really helping other moms finding a way to pursue the dream as a business owner, but still be a devoted mom. And moms really struggle to find this balance, family life and business life. So how can they strike this balance between also self-care, because you have to
Mhm.
have that, and building a successful business, all while maintaining of who you are and
Yeah.
really understanding of who you are. And that leads us to personal branding. So what tips can you share with building a business and a brand with efficiency? So, what is your idea of protecting our brand? What does that mean to you?
Mhm. Great question. You mentioned there balance, so let me just quickly mention my thoughts on balance. I think there is this elusive balance that a lot of entrepreneurs and especially moms are trying to find. But what I found is that, balance is that seesaw effect. One side is up and the other is down. You rush to the other side and the other side goes down. And that is something, it's almost like we're trying to chase something that doesn't actually exist because balance didn't give me what I wanted. So that's when I discovered that what it was that I wanted was more integration between who I am, what I'm doing, and who I'm serving, including my family. And of course, like you say, self-care is a huge, huge part. And it's something that mums struggle with. If you're working, it kind of adds another layer and another level of responsibility. And we'll often put ourselves at the bottom of the list, not because we want to, but because we feel like there just is not ever enough time. And this is something that until we don't shift that and until we don't work out what we can do to help ourselves, then we're not in the best place to be able to serve others to our potential, to maximize, and I am all about efficiency because it's not about doing more. Often we think, oh, well, we have to be productive, we have to do this. It's often being very clear on what it is you're doing and having a strategy behind that. And, tidying and sorting through all the things that you feel that you have to do, because we can add to the list very easily. and we can't not necessarily tick those things off the list equally as fast. So therefore, we can end up feeling quite, overwhelmed with that. And I think the one key area and the biggest tip that I can give for especially mums in business is that we have this natural ability to multitask, whatever that looks like for people. And we thrive in that as mothers. When we have to do things, we do them in a particular way and we find that works for us. However, when we have a business, we have to actually put that to the side and really understand that if we multitask the same way that we do other things, then could actually be reducing our productivity by anything up to 40%. That's what the stats show us. Now, that is incredible. If we put that into perspective and put a little bit of context around it, if we were working 1 hour and achieving a certain amount of results, work, progress, would you rather work that 1 hour or would you rather work 36 minutes? Like, I know which one I would choose, right? Because we have then, made more space for ourselves. And even that sometimes where we're not able to find time for self-care, well, there it is. When we become more efficient, we can make more time for other things because naturally we are maximizing what we can do in the time we have to work. So it's not about adding stress, it's about taking it away and really bringing a lot more focus into our time and more intentionality. And with that, we bring more joy as well into everything that we're doing because, there isn't that pressure as much.
Yeah. And you also talk about working on your business and working in your business. I think that relates very much to that. So, how have you managed to marry this day to day working in your business with working on your business as a mompreneur?
Yeah, I think that is an evolution. We are always constantly trying to improve, and that's just the way that things go. As far as I'm concerned, it's never, I'm not perfect, and I'm always looking for how I can improve. But certainly what I've discovered is, and that's how I based my Harmony Blueprint on, is my personal journey to find harmony and finding that integration between the two. And, understanding that in business, there are those two main areas. There's that day-to-day work of things that you have to do in order for the day-to-day running of your business. And they can often be quite boring tasks, maybe sometimes things that we don't want to give our attention to. And then the working on the business is that kind of future growth. It's that bringing that vision to life. And it is working step by step on something like, I know, you're all about brand. It's that personal brand that we're building and consciously doing that. Because if we just get caught up in the day to day, then we're not focusing on, we don't have time for the working on the business. And if we work on the business, then we're only looking at creating that and not sustaining ourselves for the income that we need day to day. So I really see them as two sides of the same coin, but we're having to focus on both in order to build a sustainable business. At the end of the day, that's what we want, right? We don't want to be draining our energy, our time, or all the most precious things that we have for no kind of real result. And I think marrying those up together is having equal, not equal, but having enough focus on each area and making sure that you have put importance on both of them and not just running with the day to day, which often we can get stuck with because it feels like that's the most urgent thing to do. So we must do that.
I see. I understand. Yeah, absolutely. Um, to help mompreneurs, you came up with your own framework, your Harmony Blueprint, and it emphasizes permission, priority, and productivity. How can mompreneurs apply these principles to become more efficient, to have more time for self care, and therefore also enhance their personal branding efforts.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's that whole like trying to understand not only what you're doing day to day, but where you're heading. And it is about marrying that up together. It's like, we talked about this, I'm sure, Bridget, where we're trying to bridge that gap between what we are building. And that building is actually our brand. Ultimately, we want something to show for it. And what I find is we can get really busy and caught up with the day to day. And like we've said, it should be one or the other, but we need to kind of find how we can do that together and finding more time for self care, finding more time so we have enough energy to actually focus in the right way. And like you said, my 3 Ps are permission, priorities, and productivity. So what I feel is that everything that mums do falls into one of these areas. And when we look at permission, it can be things like permission is a lot of things to do with our own mindset because often we haven't given ourselves the permission to do certain things or even permission to have the right boundaries. That's a really big one because how hard is it? Permission to be able to say no. When we say no to things, we are saying yes to other things and just really understanding that. So that's kind of very key in the permissions area. Then priorities feed on from that because once we have given ourselves permission on the right things, we can then really focus on what is it that is on our priority list. How do we prioritize that, further so that it's very, very clear what it is that we want to spend our time and energy on. And then productivity comes last, even though we might think it comes first. It comes last because it's not about doing things quicker and better and being super efficient. We have to first work out what it is that we want to do so that we're focusing on the right things and then being as efficient and effective as possible so that we are not working 24/7. We have that harmony with our life, our business, our family, and everything is integrated in a way that it feels aligned to us. And like you said, all of it is that goal is to build that personal brand. So, we are building our own business, laying those foundations that nobody can really see, but we are building something that we want to be able want others to be able to see, which is going to be our brand, and it comes
Yeah.
through in that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it comes to be.
That is beautiful. Can you share some specific strategies or techniques from your Harmony Blueprint that can help mompreneurs regain their control of their time and energy for branding and business growth?
Yeah, well, what I've done is I know people struggle with this whole multitasking. It can become a bit of a habit and very hard to navigate your day, with all the distractions and interruptions. And sometimes it's in our head as well. It might not be physical, and it can be all the things that are happening that take our focus away. So what I've done is using my Harmony Blueprint, I've actually come up with a weekly action plan and what I feel that is helpful for is to really get rid of that overwhelm and give you a step-by-step process of how can you create an action plan. And, when we can succeed in how we manage our time and our minutes, then when our minutes count, then our hours will count, and it's just really working on that. And we can feel like, we need to do everything all at once. And it can feel quite lonely too because we're in our head, right? Everything's in our head. And that's why I designed this weekly action plan because I think having that support and guidance and just thinking, well, this is how I'm going to manage my day. We can always make changes and progress with how we work. And I think finding those things that are working for you to help you become better and better is the key. It's not a one size fits all, like don't do this or do this. Sometimes we have to take our time working through to figure out what's actually good for us. But there isn't a magic formula, which is just the way things are. But if we spend that time to work out what things are helping us and really focusing in on them, then, we can change. There might be lots of things that you are doing that you can tweak and just change and help you. And I think getting rid of that overwhelm is key, because when you just feel you have so many things, so many responsibilities that are shouting at you for attention, our concentration and our efforts just can go to waste, because we are actually not being intentional, and we can't be productive in any manner, even if we apply ourselves and we force ourselves to do things. So I think getting some of that is like, go step by step really, and figure that out, rather than, putting extra pressure on ourselves to suddenly go from A to Z all in one, which just will not work and not be sustainable either.
Yeah. I would like to shift focus a little bit to branding. You, as a math analyst turned entrepreneur, how has your analytical background influenced your approach to strategic branding in your journey of entrepreneurship, on your, when you started to embark on your journey? Are there any unique insights that you can offer our audience?
Mhm. That's such an interesting question. Goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all have lived experience, don't we? And it's everything that we've done that basically helps us to be where we are today. And now, as I look back with the analyst side, I've always been a problem solver, and having that ability to look at things and in a holistic manner, and look at, that's obviously helped me with my key strength, which is being more
Mm.
efficient and bringing
Mhm.
efficiency to the table. But what I found is, over then the period of time, that journey, as a mother, as a caregiver, as somebody who is giving in lots of different ways, it's like marrying up these two very, kind of slightly masculine and feminine energies together, and having that holistic view of self-care, of, boundaries that we need to have in our business, of actually caring and nurturing our family and being able to give enough time to that, of also that kind of um guilt and fear and
Mhm.
even self-doubt. We all go through, and this is it's a journey, right? So we go
Yeah.
through different things over different times, and it can come back as well. So, I think marrying all of that up together, that has been really key for me. And yeah, I think that kind of analyst side has really shown me how to take the emotion away and look at things in the bigger picture, and then trying to make that meet with what is actually practical, given that we are humans and not robots, and, taking
Mm.
that all into consideration as well.
I love that, how you see it and how you approach it and how you have married the two, more the masculine part, more the, let's say, rational or the math part
Yeah.
with the emotional part of being a business owner, being a mom, and bringing that together. Furthermore, I would love to know how you arrived at your brand name, Build with Boundaries. What is the story behind?
The story behind this is that that encapsulates like what it is that having the right boundaries, having the right permission, priorities, and productivity, we are effectively building with boundaries. I often talk about building a business or growing a business as if it is a physical building. So
Mm.
it really felt so aligned in terms of, we're setting the foundations up. People don't see the foundations, they are underneath. You work so hard to do them, yet there is nothing to show for that, except they are so essential and necessary to then allow for more growth and more pillars and walls and, boundaries and areas of growth to appear, which actually expand. So yeah, this is how it sort of just came about. It just happened, to be honest. It wasn't a full consideration. But what was really helpful was when I was discussing this with my coach way back, and it was like she could see exactly what I was trying to do. And those were words that came to her. And it just felt so right. So, I feel blessed that it's just all fitted together. It felt like, this is definitely what I
This
want
is
to be known for. Yeah.
Mm. And you also call yourself a strategic business architect. How did you come about that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of similar in the sense of, again, it's like, building a business is like building a physical building and designing our business around our life, because effectively that's what we're doing, knowingly or unknowingly. Everything, every decision that we make, every step that we take, we are being that architect in our own business and being able to help others to see how they can tweak or change or improve what they have. Um, that just it just really resonates and fits into, because like we talked about, it's like a holistic view at the end of the day. I just can't separate the two. And yeah, so it just marries it up really nicely again.
Wow, that is so insightful. I love our conversation. So I would love to get from you, because I think the audience want to know that. What are some steps that mompreneurs can take if they find themselves overwhelmed with their to-do list and struggling to prioritize their branding efforts?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I think this is so common and, it happens all the time. So recognizing that, you're not alone in this is a big one, because we can get really caught up in that overwhelm. And sometimes we just feel like overloaded with stuff. And sometimes it goes to another extreme and it's more like overwhelm. But I would suggest that firstly, download my freebie for definite and take those kind of steps and put things into action. And, you can print it off and attach it to next to your computer, like literally use it for, that's where I see that the big thing is, like, we all know often what we need to do, but actually doing it is the difficult bit, and implementing. And that's what I love helping with, because it's when we take action and when we implement that we see the results. And when we see those results, they kind of give us fuel and energy to do that again on repeat. So taking that first step can feel hard, but it's definitely worth it. And, when you start seeing that affecting other things and just improving how you react, respond, and hopefully getting you to a stage where you can be more proactive in terms of managing everything rather than just, firefighting all the time and feeling like you're in that reactive mode. I think that's really key, is to, stop that overwhelm and cut it off in its tracks way before it happens. And the sooner we can work on doing those things, we don't get to that state of overwhelm, which is exactly what we want. We want to be working intentionally, and we can only do that if we're in the right headspace. We have had enough, care for ourselves, and we are in the right kind of mindset to be pushing ourselves to focus on the right things. So just really doing all of those things. So whatever you can take from the weekly action plan, you might be doing some of the things and you might not be doing others, but it's always worth, starting fresh and just saying, right, and setting the intention that you'll do it. Because, and as we know, intention is powerful, and ultimately you're building something. There is something that is going to, building habits, building these things will then lead to you working better. And if you work better, you take that overwhelm away. When you take overwhelm away and you're constantly working, you're seeing your productivity and your results, and you're seeing that you can progress, you can make progress. And that's really powerful.
There are also some misconceptions out there for moms who want to start their own business. They truly want to become an entrepreneur, have their own businesses, but they are doubting themselves. So, do you have any pieces of advice that they can kind of get these misconceptions out of their way, these roadblocks that are building up in front of them?
Yeah.
How should they turn this, let's say, limiting thinking into something that is empowering them so they can move forward and start the first step?
Yes. Great question, Bridget. Great question. Yeah, so I would say that, doubt is something that's quite natural. Like we all, no matter how successful somebody is, they will always come across doubt to different extents.
Hmm.
And they will probably be something that keeps on coming back. So it's like it's continuous improvement, but it's okay to have those doubts. Sometimes we just have to let them float on by as if, they're clouds in the sky. Sometimes we need to just, acknowledge them, like rather than ignoring them, just acknowledge what it is that, your mind monkeys are saying. And when we actually acknowledge it, we can then use that to our advantage because we could ask ourselves, well, where is there evidence to say this? Often as mums, we have plenty of evidence to show us that we have such amazing capabilities. And this could be in our personal life. This can be dealing with our children, our family, our loved ones, caring for people, anything. Look for the evidence, like try and find those things that tell you, well, this is not the case. And when you start looking for that, you will start seeing more of it. But when we just pay attention to the negative side, then it's the negative side that will grow. And obviously we don't want that.
Before we come to the end of our show, Manas, I would like to do a quick word wrap with you. Are
Okay,
you ready to give me quick and short answers?
I am ready.
Okay. So the first word would be entrepreneurship,
Ooh, journey,
the future self,
vision,
mindset.
internal. All begins from inside.
Yeah, exactly. Then challenge. What does challenge mean in your
Mm,
context of thinking and the way
challenge.
where you...
I think there's always an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to provide a solution.
Okay. And last but not least, brands.
Brands are everywhere, right? I think if we're open to it, we can start seeing that. And I think that's really powerful to think of them like brands.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Manas, you also have a podcast. It's called Build with Boundaries.
Yes.
Why should mompreneurs listen to it?
Oh, well, super short episodes. So when you are washing up, you're tidying up in the kitchen, or you're doing things that you can multitask effectively, then you can listen to these, and they've been designed for moms who are busy. So you can get insights into different topics about building and creating more harmony in your life. And whenever, you get those insights, that's a chance for you to really explore that and see, like, how can I apply this to my life and my day, and, actually have a result from it, make a change. So yeah, open invitation. If that sounds good to you, then check it out and let me know what you think.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Manas. Where else can listeners find you? So you have your podcast. There will be a freebie in the show notes. Where else can they find you?
Yes, and I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. Sounds wonderful. Manas, thank you so much for being my guest today. It was just a pleasure having you here and helping our audience overcome this overwhelm. And thank you for sharing all the steps to prioritize our brand as a mompreneur. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bridget. I hope it's been helpful for your listeners.
I'm sure about that. If you like my show, follow BrandsTalk on your preferred app, share it on social media, and if you find a minute or two, leave a quick rating or review. Thank you so much. If you want me to guide you to become a future market leader by transforming your ambitions and passion into an online brand, that radiates beauty, brilliance, and authenticity, attracting the clients and recognition you deserve, drop me an email. I'd love to be your guide on your hero journey. Check out my website, bridgetbrands.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I hope you will stay tuned in on the next episode when we dive into the world of brands.